King Edward VI, the only surviving legitimate son of Henry VIII, was born on October 12, 1537, at Hampton Court Palace. Edward's short reign, from 1547 to 1553, was overshadowed by political turbulence, religious upheaval, and royal manipulation. His life and rule have often been examined through the lens of the political, social, and religious changes that defined his era. Edward's reign, though brief, had long-lasting effects on England, particularly through the religious reforms that were solidified under his leadership. However, there is a darker side to his story, one that casts him as a Tudor monster in the making. This label refers not only to the political environment he was born into but also to his own involvement in the intensification of religious persecution, as well as his potential as a tool of the courtly factions vying for power. Edward VI was the product of his father, Henry VIII's, turbulent reign. Henry VIII's reign was marked by significant personal and political upheaval. Henry's break from the Catholic Church in Rome to establish the Church of England in the 1530s had led to years of conflict, persecution, and bloody executions. Edward was raised in an era of intense political scheming, religious divisions, and familial strife. At the time of Edward's birth, his father, Henry VIII, had already been married to Catherine of Aragon, Anne Boleyn, Jane Seymour, Edward's mother, and two others, making his marital history chaotic and divisive. The theological ramifications of these decisions would reverberate long into the future, and Edward's life and reign were inextricably linked to these political and religious shifts. The break with Rome had created a division between Catholics and Protestants, a fissure that would only deepen in the years to come. Edward's ascension to the throne in 1547 was a monumental moment, but it was also a delicate one. Upon the death of his father, Henry VIII, the throne was passed to the 9-year-old Edward VI, who was too young to govern independently. The country was thus placed under the regency of a council, headed by the Duke of Somerset, Edward's uncle, and later the Duke of Northumberland. The regents were tasked with guiding Edward until he came of age, but the power struggles within the court soon made it clear that they had their own ambitions. Edward's reign began at a time when England was politically unstable. Henry VIII's will had made provision for his son to ascend the throne, but it also stipulated that if Edward were to die without heirs, the throne should pass to Mary, his half-sister, and then Elizabeth, his other half-sister. Despite this, Edward's Protestant advisors were keen to ensure the continuation of the Reformation, which was at risk of being overturned should the Catholic Mary inherit the throne. Edward's court was thus politically divided, with the Protestant faction determined to secure their vision of England's future. Edward's reign was defined by the continuation of the Reformation that his father had initiated. Although Henry VIII had broken with Rome and established the Church of England, his religious reforms were primarily motivated by political necessity rather than theological commitment. Edward VI, however, was raised in a Protestant environment and was far more committed to religious change.